Hey guys, John Hunter, your mortgage hunter, coming back to you again with another Fact or Fiction. This one is challenge number 31. So buying a home is always better than renting. Is that true or false? So it is false. You probably thought I was going to say true on that one because I do mortgages for a living, but it's actually not, right? So it's just like anything else in this world. It kind of depends. Nothing's ever black and white. If you are young and you're just starting your career and you're saving money and, you need to get a place maybe with a bunch of your buddies, kind of like I did out of college, probably not a great time to buy. Renting could be a good option for the short term, kind of get used to adulting, really. That's a big one. Work, school, your stage of your life, right? If you're single, but you plan on hopefully maybe getting married, maybe you've met somebody, but you don't have children, you're not really sure how your career is going to develop. If there's some questions there, tying down and having to sell right away if you buy isn't always great. So, that could be a good opportunity to rent. If you're about to retire and you might be moving out of state, or you think you might, some of those more long-term decisions can play a big role, and it might make more sense to rent in the short term. And, obviously how long you're going to live there, your job, maybe you are going to get transferred out of state, or you're going for a big promotion, that type of thing. It may make a lot more sense to rent. So you really just kind of have to weigh it all. Now, that said, if you are relatively stable in your work and your family, and you think that, this is where you want to live, you want to put down roots a little bit, buying almost always trumps renting in the long term, right? So if you look at real estate prices over the long haul, they always go up. It's just not always in a straight line, but they always go up. And so does rent. I mean, if the last few years since the pandemic hasn't taught us anything, is that, inflation sucks, it's real, and it's not going anywhere. So rent will continue to pace itself with values, and values sometimes will even outpace rent in a lot of cases, like it has. So locking down and buying a house doesn't necessarily guarantee you a super low payment forever and ever, but it does when it comes to the mortgage. The taxes and insurance may change over time, but that's minuscule compared to increase in rent. So, I'm going to link to a video that I did a while back that was a buy versus rent scenario, real scenario, where it showed if you buy now where rates were higher and refinance later when rates are lower versus not buying and waiting to buy, what that difference would mean in real dollars. And guys, it was significant. I mean, we're talking about a $50,000 swing in just a couple of years versus, just continuing to rent and throw money out the window. So rent will always go up. You build no equity. You have no control. I just talked to another buyer the other day, and the whole reason why they're buying is a home that they've been renting for a very long time that they thought maybe eventually they would buy. All of a sudden, the seller's like, hey, I'm sick of renting. All of the landlord rules are really cumbersome to them, and they're going to sell. So now they had no intention of moving their family, and all of a sudden, now they have to. And so being forced into that situation, that lack of control, it is the driving factor for a lot of people. And once you buy a house, it's yours. It's your home. Make the mortgage payment and pay the taxes and insurance, and you know what? Nobody's going to bug you. And that fixed that cost in over the long haul. A little story I tell people buying versus rent is, for case in point is like my mother, right? She bought a home with my father in 1979, and they still live there, right? If she had to pay what the prices are today for that house, she could not afford that neighborhood whatsoever. So because it's gone up so much in value. But she lives there and lives comfortably and is doing great. So, buying will build equity. It builds generational wealth in a lot of cases, and it is going to be your biggest asset going forward. So the sooner you can do it, the sooner you can get your feet in that game and become a homeowner, the better off you'll be. You'll have more choices on your next home. It doesn't have to be a perfect home out of the gate. I actually did a video on this too, that with the way things are nowadays, people move up to 13 times in their life, right? I think when people buy homes, they move less for obvious reasons, but building equity along the way and having a bigger and bigger down payment, if you end up having to sell and buy a new place because that's what you want, is the way to go, right? Whereas with rent, you just dump it in. just going down a hole. You're just paying off the landlord's house. So why not it be you? Why not be you the one to get the equity? So watch that video. I think it shows pretty clearly. I think a lot of people know this, but it's just biting that bullet. One thing that a lot of people don't factor in, and you hear about it, but how does it really work, is the tax benefits to buying a home versus doing a standard deduction versus an itemized deduction. Sometimes that can mean quite a bit of money, a couple $100s a month in tax liability that you could use to afford maybe a little nicer home and make that home a little bit more affordable, even if it's a little bit higher than your rent. It actually can be equal. And that's something that I can show you. So if you're interested in doing a buy versus rent analysis, or if you're just looking at buying a home, or have somebody that you love that might be interested in it and maybe they just haven't taken that leap yet and want to find out more, we have zero down programs. We have down payment assistance programs. There's lots of great programs out there for first-time home buyers with maybe a little bit lower rate. We even have a program for minorities that will grant you up to 20% of the down payment. Oh, my phone's ringing. Anyway, guys, John Hunter, your mortgage hunter, coming back to you every week. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Like, subscribe. Bye-bye.